Hey, everybody. I got my low voice this morning. Did a show last night at 10:30. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start off, as we typically do, with something funny.
I asked her if she thought one of my friends was attractive. And this went poorly, but not in the way I anticipated it going poorly. I asked her, I was like, hey, do you think, are you attracted to him? Is he an attractive guy? And she goes, I'm not really attracted to guys based on the way they look. I was like, honey, that hurt me so much more. That destroyed me on a molecular level. I wish you would have told me you fantasize about him every day. That would have hurt me less. Don't get me wrong. I was always confused about it because this is very specific. I'm very niche. I understand that. It's but I thought that's what you liked. I thought you were into this. You're like, I want a guy that looks like he reads comic books and is hard to push over. That's what I want. I want him sturdy and nerdy. That's how I want him.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Andy Hall. This is the morning show. Everyone in the chat, good morning. Simply Secular. What a soldier here from the West Coast. The coffee's growing. I'm on my second cup of coffee right now. And Robert X here first. This isn't a competition, but you did win. I just want to say that right now. Jess M, good morning, good morning. Derek, present. Mr. Tobin, Mr. Templeman. Been playing in the snow like actual snow. It's been chilly here, but we don't really have that much snow on the ground, and I'm not crying about that. Yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. Last night, I'm a little tired. I'm a little not as peppy as I usually am. Did that crazy show last night with co-founder of the Satanic Temple, Lucian Greaves, along with Shalise Blythe, and Dex Desjardins. We were talking about a table read of a script that Lucian wrote. Michelle remembers the porn parody. I believe that's the official title of it. We had a lot of fun. We had talked a lot about the Satanic Temple. We talked a bit about art. We talked about the combination of art and politics, whatever that might be. And so that show, if you haven't seen it, it's an interesting show. It's an interesting show. We talked about sex rituals too, and I fumbled my way through that since I'm still, you can take the boy out of the Baptist church, but it's difficult to take the Baptist church out of the boy. And so there's still a bit of a repressed Baptist in here somewhere. So as soon as we start talking about sex rituals, a little bit more repressed. Even now, I find it difficult. But a great conversation last night. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Oh, thanks, Jess M. Jess M says, just watched last night's show. It was great. Thank you. It was great because of the guests. I'm very lucky to have that crew on. Yeah, Tobin. I heard that you guys got a lot of snow. I heard that Oklahoma got a lot of snow too, which is Abby normal. See what I did there? Abby something. Young Frankenstein, for those of you who aren't aware of the reference. So Facebook, right? Facebook. Issues with Facebook. It's going to be the lead-off story. But first comes the question. First comes the morning question. Have any of you had issues with Facebook? And issue, more than issue. I mean, I've only gotten, and I don't know how this has happened, I've only gotten one ban, one timeout, one 30-day. Was it 30 days? It was a week. I only got timed out of Facebook for a week. I wasn't absolutely sure what I did wrong. But otherwise, I've been pretty safe about Facebook. Yeah, I post some crazy stuff. Thankfully for me, I have comedian friends who constantly get kicked off of Facebook. And they are quite loud and proud about what they did wrong on Facebook. how they got their ban. And so I look at what they've done, and to find out what the rules are, because Facebook isn't going to tell you what the rules are straight out. And sometimes they change the rules without telling anyone. So suddenly what wouldn't have gotten you banned 6 months ago or a year ago will get you banned now. Oh, Dr. Mordecai, huh? You're still banned? I'm sorry to hear that. Wild Eden, good morning. Good morning. Oh, hey, Simply Secular has something Satan needs to say. I was driving to work behind a car with a satanic star emblem in the middle of the back window a couple of days ago. Oh, yeah. Send me a pic. That'd be hilarious. Yeah. Facebook, right? KCA Randy. Morning. I'm going to give you 2 mornings because it's Monday and it's tough. It's tough for me, at least, so far. I'm waiting for the second cup of coffee to hit. Jess M, interesting. Yeah, a lot of my groups are having problems. Some language is a new issue since you can't say the B word. Yeah. What I'm afraid of, and I think this is what a lot of people are concerned about, is that if things keep trending in the way that they're trending, Facebook, maybe even YouTube, is going to be nothing but cat videos. It's going to be nothing but pages, videos, groups that are completely vanilla, that there's no edge to them because of the fact that Facebook and YouTube want to have advertisers. They want to have advertisers, so anything controversial won't get monetized, or they'll get banned, or they'll get kicked off. Glenn Chesterton, just from outside of Toronto. Hello. Yeah, public holiday. Today is President's Day. I'm not working, so today's another Monday for me. My girlfriend has it off, though, so I believe it's like an official holiday for many people here in the States. -7. That's, you don't mess with Facebook, Tobin? Yeah. That can be a third rail. David Paul says, I was getting blocked a lot for a while, not much now. I don't do as much. And good morning. Yeah. So Facebook, it is difficult to navigate. The goalposts change without anyone knowing. They're not going to tell you beforehand. And that's a problem. I don't mind working within certain rules, but when they don't tell you what the rules are, it's like you're taking a page or two from Kafka's Trial. Yeah, I just referenced Kafka's Trial. And I've read the book. I've read a particularly good edition of the book, since Kafka never really officially finished the book. But so there are different versions of it kicking around out there. But yeah, there are some moments that you're on Facebook wondering, is this going to get me banned? Is it not going to get me banned? Well, I'm just going to hit send anyway and just see what happens. Brain bug. Seems like it's cold. I haven't even looked out. I was outside for maybe 2 minutes yesterday, if that, getting something out there. All right, so let's talk about memes, the important topic. Before we get back to Facebook, we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a couple more laughs, right? We're gonna have some more laughs before getting into the meat and potatoes of what we got going on today. The oatmeal. If you're not acquainted with the site The Oatmeal or any of their funnies, well, here you go. Here's a treat. Crap, I really need to finish. And the shiny new thing. I always like shiny new things, to tell you the truth. I always like shiny new things until there's another shiny new thing, a new project, a new joke. My desktop is littered with folders about short comedy bits I could do, but then I think about it and then I second guess myself. So I get attracted to the next shiny new thing. And then sometimes the stuff that I don't finish that I should, it wasn't really that important to begin with. And sometimes it is really important, and it's not good that I've just procrastinated it for a long time. Yeah, right? The shiny. You gotta like the shiny. You gotta like the shiny. All right. Hey, hey. Oh, yeah, it's President's Day. That is correct. It is President's Day today here in the States. All right, so we were talking about it the other day. I was talking with my girlfriend about it. And it's like, well, President's Day, it just seems nicer now because we have Biden in as president. Not even Biden in as president. We just have someone who's not Donald J. Trump as president. So President's Day doesn't seem to be as dirty as it has been for the last 4 years. Okay, we're talking about the cold. There, I did it. I had to do, yeah, okay. Mortal Kombat, old school, Sub-Zero wins. I thought that was mandatory. I thought that was mandatory to show. Sub-Zero wins since it's so frigid everywhere else in the country. Actually, New England isn't that bad. I think we're like 30 or 27, which is warmer than a lot of the rest of the country. And we got one more. Oh. Simply Secular says, I have a friend who is the king of starting projects. I think when he's finished two in his life, he's been separated for 10 plus years, has the divorce papers, hasn't completed them yet. I dated someone like that, to tell you the truth. I dated someone like that. Like a few months into dating, she's like, oh, I should tell you that I'm officially married. Oh, really? Just haven't gotten around to the divorce. Oh, just one of the many issues with that relationship. Let me say that. But yes, I've heard of people just not filing the paperwork about a divorce. All right, last joke, last bit, last funny. Here we go. A little bit of stand-up humor here. I'm not really into sport. I thought lacrosse was French for angry. Wah, wah. All right. It was a pun. It was a pun. If you're not into puns, we can forget about the unpleasantness of the pun of this young woman here thinking that lacrosse was French for angry. There we go. All right. Let's talk about Facebook. I'm getting into the news, the actual news site. Oh, I should tell you what we're actually doing for news today. We're going to do the quick rundown of the 4 news stories we're covering. Facebook problems. That one particular Facebook blogger, content creator is having. Puerto Rico statehood. The 7 GOP senators. Holy crap. It's 13 minutes into the show. I haven't even talked about the 57-43 vote about former President Donald J. Trump. Yes, we're talking about that in a few minutes. We will be. And about a person fighting military extremism, or not fighting military extremism. He is fighting extremism, political extremism in the military. Those are the 4 stories. And of course, Rage, from what I understand, The Rage, is doing a show on his channel at 10:30. So I'm going to be plugging that not just now, but later on too. So let's go to the first story about Facebook and the problems that some secular pages and Facebook groups are having right now. This is from Pathos. My Facebook fan page has been limited for hate speech. And this is from the blog No Sacred Cows. And it's written by David G. McAfee. That's how I'm going to pronounce it. McAfee. So he writes a blog over on Pathos, the non-religious channel. Let's see what happened to him on Facebook. My verified Facebook fan page with 250,000 followers has had its reach limited by the platform for alleged, quote, hate speech violations. Hate speech violations. Sounds severe. As someone who has been a passionate defender of those who face discrimination in our society, I am especially upset about Facebook's conclusion that I'm guilty of perpetuating hate speech, which is defined by the American Library Association as any form of expression through which speakers intend to vilify, humiliate, or incite hatred against a group or a class of persons on the basis of race, religion, skin color, sexual identity, gender identity, ethnicity, disability, or natural origin. So he's had his page restricted. Now my page, Laughing in Disbelief, cheap plug for my Facebook page, I have about 30,000, about 30,200 people who've liked the page, more who have followed the page. And yes, I actually agonize at times about what I can put down on the page in terms of memes, in terms of content, that because I want to be edgy, but I don't want to get banned. And this gentleman, David McAfee, he was making money off his Facebook page. I guess there are ways of monetizing your Facebook page, and those were taken away from him a while back. If you go to the story, everything is linked. All the news stories have links in the description if you want to check it out. You can read the whole story. His Facebook page is limited now, but a while back, it got demonetized. Now, there's certain ways you can make money off a Facebook page, and it got demonetized for this meme right here. And tell me if you think this warrants a demonetization on Facebook. Shout out to the Confederate flags who always showing me who the white trash without ever having to have a conversation. And I guess the phrase, the dirty phrase, is the thing that got him into trouble. And if you've been on Facebook before, over the last few weeks or last few months, I know people who've gotten banned for the dirty Caucasian reference right there. Yeah, I've known actually quite a few people who've gotten into trouble for that. So his page got demonetized. Dr. Osiris, my favorite. Trump should be convicted for hate speech. That's how we hold him accountable. Indeed, the girlfriend. Oh, interesting. Simply Secular says, I must be doing it wrong. I've never had a problem with anything, with nothing. Oh, congratulations, doctor. I mean, Simply. Social media. Yeah. We will probably see, I think Facebook, and I'm not splitting the atom here. I'm not saying anything that much more intelligent people have said, is that Facebook is responding to, it's banning, restricting pages, restricting groups, because it's afraid of getting restrictions by Congress, of getting regulated by Congress. Facebook probably believes, justly so, that if it doesn't clean up its own act, then Congress will clean up its act for it, and that takes the power out of its own hands. Yeah, what you said. There you go. All right. So yeah, he got his Facebook page demonetized for the dirty Caucasian reference, in which was a joke, I guess. Maybe I wouldn't have chosen that particular meme, but I've talked to other content creators on Facebook who have had issues. Now, I'm trying to drag them onto the show, to tell you the truth, to have a conversation about, being an atheist, running a Facebook page, running a Facebook group. I also run a Facebook group, Atheist Comedy Burrito. And if you can guess what, Atheist Comedy Burrito, the Facebook group, that's what it is. It's just comedy and atheism. And Facebook regularly takes out members' comments. They don't ding the page. They don't ding the group, though. So the group itself is good in Facebook's eyes. It's just that some people who put comments on the group that aren't, that they just take off. They just get rid of it because of hate speech. You can get monetized on Facebook. Yes, Dr. Osiris, it is possible to do that. It is possible. And some people actually not me, but people who know what they're doing on Facebook can actually make some money, especially David McAfee, who had a lot of members, hundreds of thousands, like 250,000 members, and now he's been restricted, demonetized, And so people like that just go to Patreon or go to other social media sites to promote their material. All right. All right, let's go to the next story. So that's the Facebook. Like I said, I'm going to try to get some people on to talk about Facebook or social media in general and about being an atheist, being secular, and the troubles that we face. But that's in the future. Let's talk about now. Let's talk about the here and now. All right, so I thought Puerto Rico statehood is worth talking about, at least. It's going to be coming up. And there is something worth noting in this article that's important. We have all this news coming at us all the time. 24-hour news cycle, Facebook, Twitter, whatever social media platform you're on, we can be drowning in news. But every once in a while, you know, what I try to do is to try to get the signal through the noise, try to find out the relevant pieces of information through all the crap that's out there. And there's this one little bit in this story that's I thought was worth sharing the article with you. So let's take a look at it. It's about Puerto Rican statehood. Puerto Rico statehood, what you need to know. It's from the news site Axios, link in the description. Puerto Rican statehood, supported by Governor Pedro, I'm not even going to try. I'm going to try. Pierluisi, oh, that's a horrible attempt, Andy, has been a long-standing goal for some Democrats and championed by progressives as a way to grant the island self-determination. Where it stands, Puerto Rico has held 6 non-binding referendums on its status, including becoming a U.S. state since 1967. Residents most recently voted in favor of statehood last November. Both of Pierluisi's predecessors, Wanda Vasquez and Ricardo Rossello, I'm going to pronounce it like that, also supported statehood. But wait, there's more. Any change in Puerto Rico's status would require congressional approval, which has been a congressional roadblock. So, should we start talking about filibusters and how to work around filibusters? Wait, before we start talking about filibusters, let's just go through some more of the article. The island's current governor, as well as the last two, have all been part of the pro-statehood New Progressive Party. Puerto Rico's other major political party, the Popular Democratic Party, advocates for keeping the status quo as a self-governing, unincorporated U.S. territory. Choices in the past referendums have included statehood, the status quo, or independence from the U.S. Only 1.5% of voters chose independence in 2017, the last time the question was officially asked. 2020's referendum on statehood simply asked, should Puerto Rico be immediately admitted into the Union as a state? And 52% of the voters said yes. Not too shabby, not too shabby. Between the lines, Senator Martha McSally, Republican of Arizona, told NBC News last year that if Puerto Rico gained statehood, Republicans, wait for it, this is the magic sauce right here. This is the magic sauce. Would never get the Senate back again. Republican Senator McSally from Arizona says, Puerto Rico becomes a state, they believe the Republicans will never get control of the Senate again. Now, if that doesn't put a pep in your step on a Monday morning, I don't know what does. The idea that Puerto Rico becomes a state and now the Republicans are locked out of the Senate for who knows how long. You know, I'm not going to say forever, but who knows how long they could be locked out for a generation of having control of the Senate. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, while campaigning in Kentucky in August, listed the island's statehood as proof of Democrats' extreme agenda. Yes, the Democrats. I've been really working on my Mitch McConnell impersonation. It isn't perfect yet, but you can just imagine him saying, it's kind of like a throaty Richard Nixon, extreme Democrat agenda, letting more brown people into the Union. So that is what Republicans consider to be an extreme Democrat agenda, letting more brown people into the Union. The Republican Party of Puerto Rico supports statehood, and Puerto Rican statehood is part of the Republican National Committee platform. It's actually part of the RNC platform, but they're not really paying attention to that. That's just chin music. They understand. They can do the math. Democrats get 2 more blue seats, secure blue seats too. Their minority party, the Republican white evangelical minority party, will even become more minor. Oh, that would be one single tier. One single tier. Let's see what chat says. Hey, Phil Lister. How you doing? Why would you want to make Puerto Rico more miserable by having Florida invaded? All right. Let's get that out of there. Rage, good morning. You're stuck in an X-ray? You're not going to make me show today. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry. Is this, I don't know if you feel comfortable talking about this, was this a COVID-related X-ray? Like something kind of like an effect from you having COVID? Because well, either way, dude, I'm sorry to hear that you're stuck getting an X-ray. Phil Lister saying Republican politicians don't seem to like democracy much. That's right. Well, yes, they don't like democracy. Sure, Republicans love democracy as long as everyone agrees with them, as long as they get what they want. Yeah, sure, Dr. Mordecai. Florida could take Puerto Rico easy, but I think it would be a human rights crime, a crime against humanity for Florida just to be in charge of Puerto Rico. Florida shouldn't be in charge of Florida, let's face it. Time to cancel knock. Tough. All right, what are we doing? We're halfway. Are we halfway through the show? We're about halfway through the show. We did 2 stories so far. Secular issues, secular atheist Facebook pages and groups and the issues that they have with Facebook. And of course, we just talked about Puerto Rico statehood, about how if we do get Puerto Rico statehood, this Republican senator says Republicans will be locked out of the Senate. Oh, fantastic. All right. Halftime show. It's a quick show. It's going to be a quick halftime bit here. A little funny, a little bit of funny here. Let's check it out.
I think I'll be just fine inside for a couple of weeks. I got a Netflix account and a fully charged Kindle.
You tell the best stories, Matthew McConaughey. By the way, I wrote a script and I would love your thoughts on it.
So this is the difference, of course, between March 2020, where a lot of us, I was one of them. It's like, what? It's like I'm going to be on lockdown. The whole universe is going to change. Sure, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just going to show the clip again. I thought it was funny in case you missed it.
I think I'll be just fine inside for a couple of weeks. I got a Netflix account and a fully charged Kindle.
You tell the best stories, Matthew McConaughey. By the way, I wrote a script and I would love your thoughts on it.
Yeah. A little stir crazy. That's what I am. A little stir crazy by being inside. A lot. Way too much. Glenn Chesterton. So if Puerto Rico gets statehood, the Republicans are screwed. Isn't that on the Republicans to come to the constituents? Well, Glenn, you would think that the Republican Party would change as the country changes over time. But you see, they're conservatives, and just by the nature of conservatism, they want things to stay the same. They don't like the change. They're the ones who put the brakes on the road to progress. And maybe, just maybe, there's some, and here in the States, maybe there's some race-related issues amongst the base, the Donald Trump base, And maybe they're the ones who are really telling their elected leaders that they don't want more brown-skinned people here in the Republic. All right. So what's the next story? Checking the set list. 7 GOP senators who voted to convict Trump. I believe this is an NPR story. Because everyone knows at this point that they did the vote. The senators did the vote. And the final vote was 57 to 43. 57 voted to convict Trump. 43 did not. So this is not one of those simple majority votes, of course. And so, Donald J. Trump is officially acquitted in the Senate. Though he is already, we've talked about this many times, he and his cronies, he and his allies are being, they're being buried in lawsuits at this particular time. But let's talk about the 7 senators. The 7 GOP senators voted to convict Trump. Only one faces voters next year. And once again, in this story, there is a truth. There is a signal through the noise that is worth talking about. That's worth talking about. Just as in Puerto Rico, if Puerto Rico becomes a state, Republicans are locked out of the Senate, control the Senate for who knows how long. There is a truth hidden in this story that's worth talking about. So once again, 7 GOP senators voted to convict Trump. Only one faces voters next year. Let's go and see what the article's about. Or let's see what it says. A majority of senators voted Saturday to convict former President Donald Trump on an impeachment charge of inciting an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. But the Democrats side needed 17 Republicans to join them in order to reach the 2/3 threshold needed to convict. 7 GOP senators voted with Democrats, the most bipartisan impeachment vote in U.S. history, but it's well short of the 17 needed to convict the former president. So, yeah, I was watching the news this morning, and there was someone from the Biden administration kind of doing a victory lap, talking about how this is the most bipartisan vote in U.S. history. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice, and if you want to spin it that way and calling that a victory when the executive branch called down flying monkeys to attack the legislative branch, and the president is walking away without a conviction from the Senate. Sure, you can call that a victory if you want to. That's fine. All right. Is that a rant? That's about as much of a rant as I can get this morning, since I did that late show last night. But let's continue. Let's see what is the most important part of this story that we can glean. Glean? Yeah, I like that word, glean. Let's go. Let's see. Next story. Of those 7 Republicans, 2 are retiring. Only one, Alaska's Lisa Murkowski, faces her state's voters in the next election cycle in 2021. Senator. So this is one of the senators, Richard Burr in North Carolina. Burr's vote to convict was largely unexpected, according to Capitol Hill reporters in the chamber during the vote. There were audible wows and rumbling from senators when he cast his vote. He had previously voted to dismiss the trial on the basis of constitutionality. In a statement, Burr said he did not make the decision lightly, but I believe it is necessary. How did he find his courage? Burr, who will serve the Senate since 2005, announced years ago this would be his last term. So that's basically it. Burr, he switched votes. He was going to vote, not to convict. And then, he found his spine. He found his genitalia. I want to make that, he found his genitalia, partly because he doesn't have to face voters next year. Now, there is a way to change the system, to change how senators get elected within their states that would actually allow them more latitude, more choice, less fear of getting primaried. And Murkowski up in Alaska, that's one of the reasons why she decided to vote to convict. Let's check it out. Murkowski, here we go. A senator since 2002 is up for re-election next year, but as Alaska public media recently reported, her state's new election rules likely mean she'll be in less danger of losing her primary. Alaska has an open primary and ranked choice voting, which means all contenders for the seat will be on the same ballot for all primary voters. The top 4 will advance to the general election, and then voters will rank them in order of preference. Murkowski told Alaska public media that she thinks the new system puts her in a better position. Murkowski is not afraid of losing her seat due to Trump supporters, due to having an open primary system, having ranked choice voting. So this will actually allow senators in the, at least in Alaska, and where this system, in states where they have ranked choice voting, open primaries, senators will be able to vote their conscience more often and not just vote for the base. Because we know that's how the Tea Party, that's how Trumpists are keeping control of a lot of seats. It's because representatives and senators, they are afraid to vote against their base, their political base, because they are enslaved to their political base. But if there's an election system that undermines that control with ranked choice voting and open primaries, then that, my dear friends, could be the death of political extremism in the United States of America. Okay, yeah, that's a brash statement right there. But really, it could be just as simple as open primaries and ranked choice voting. And that would cut the legs out from under Tea Party, QAnon, Trumpists right there. So if you have a chance to do that, if that's on the ballot in your state, then it's something to really consider voting for. And once we get rid of QAnon, once we get rid of the Tea Party, hopefully, possibly by the system, that means white evangelicals will no longer be in control of the Republican Party. That means senators, representatives won't have to cater to them. Oh, it's a beautiful thing. It would be a beautiful thing. Oh, this is a good point, Simply Secular. They didn't vote to acquit Trump. They voted to prevent responsibility and accountability of government officials. That is true. That is true. And, I was thinking about it. It's going to be, I write some pieces on Medium every once in a while. Medium is a platform where people write, think pieces. So I'll probably I've been thinking about writing a piece about the choices the Senate had, but that's a whole different topic. Oh, moral victories are always losses on the battlefield. Well, they can be. You're right about that. Well, Phil Lister, I think they would have voted differently if it was a secret ballot. Yeah, they would have voted differently. Unfortunately, it isn't like that. However, once again, ranked choice voting, open primaries, I think that is a way forward. That is a way forward of diminishing political extremism and religious extremism in this country. Because if the religious extremists don't have politicians to do their bidding, that makes them a lot less powerful. Okay, so Phil Lister, how long has Puerto Rico been American? Since the Spanish-American War, sir. The Spanish-American War, 1898. I'm just throwing that off. I'm just throwing that out. It might have been earlier, but 1898, I believe, was the Spanish-American War. It was just it was an imperialist war that the United States of America waged on the decaying Spanish Empire. We got the Philippines. The United States of America got the Philippines out of that. We got Puerto Rico out of that, and maybe a few other possessions too. So it's been an American possession for quite a while. Why the delay? Race, primarily. And it's also, it's difficult for people outside the country to understand exactly how contentious new states are, to bring in new states into the Union. One of the reasons why the Civil War was fought was this balance within the federal government between slave states and quote unquote free states. And just even putting in new states into the Union, like in the the 1850s, for example, or the 1840s, really just heightened up tensions within the country. So allowing a new state in, especially one that is going to be reliably blue for the foreseeable future, that upsets the balance of power in the country. And the thing is, Republicans can't win popular votes. We know that. They can't win popular votes in this country. Unless they rig the system. So with, let's say, Washington, D.C., which is another state, which is another candidate for statehood, and with Puerto Rico, you get 4 blue senators. It would be tough for the Republicans in their current form to ever have control of the Senate, at least for the foreseeable future. Oh, yeah. Glenn Chesterton says what this vote proves. 2 things. Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz have no spines. There was an interesting Saturday Night Live bit lampooning those 2 people. And Mitch McConnell only cares about one thing, power. True enough. All right, so that's stories. I think that covers the GOP senators. And now the man who's trying to fight political, religious extremism in the U.S. military. Let's check it out. All the links are in the description. It's going to be hard. A new West Point leader on confronting extremism in the military. Hard. Brigadier General Mark Quander, I'll go with Quander, is taking a new leadership role at the prestigious military school of West Point at a time when the spotlight has returned to the problem of extremism in the military. Quander was appointed last month to be the next commandant of cadets, equivalent to the dean of students. Many graduates of West Point go on to leadership roles in the military. It's hard, and it's also very challenging, Quander told Michael Martin in All Things Considered about confronting extremism, because I think if it was easy, we would have fixed it a long time ago. But I do think everyone is committed to addressing it. It is easy. It requires will. It isn't like you need a big plan. You don't need a big plan. You don't need to overthink this. Extremist speech. Wow, maybe you don't permit that. Extremist religious positions, political positions should not be tolerated. That's not difficult to do either. So much like many of the issues facing the country here in the United States of America, it isn't a question of wisdom, of knowing what's right or what's wrong. It's a question of virtue. It's about executing on what you know. It's clear on how to prevent extremism. It's just a question of getting the job done and having a spine, just like the Senate. It isn't a question of knowing what's right and what's wrong. Senators, no, Republican senators are aware that Donald Trump is guilty of insurrection. It is the fact that they have no spines. It's the fact that their virtue is down in the sub-basement. They don't have the will. Got the angers going. All right, let's see. About 15% of the people arrested for storming the U.S. Capitol had a military background. An NPR analysis found higher than the normal population. A military Times survey in 2019 found that more than 1/3 of active duty troops said they witnessed examples of white nationalism and racism in the military. Recently, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin last week ordered a military-wide stand-down for commanders to discuss the corrosive effects of extremist ideologies. So we talked about this on the show last week, the week before, that our previous number, or a number, was about 20% of the rioters on January 6th were of military backgrounds. NPR says about 15%. From what I recall, there's about 7% of ex-military people or currently serving, military in the population. So NPR says it's about 15. Whether it's 15 or 20%, there are a lot more ex-military folks at the Capitol riot, and that's a problem. And it's something that the military, especially amongst the officer class, because if you have officers who are racists, if you have officers who are fascists, or don't even know what the definition of fascism is, then that's a problem. Because once again, even though trickle-down economics don't work, leadership matters. Leadership matters, and there is a trickle-down effect of when you have leaders who understand what democracy is and how rank-and-file officers act and behave. He says leadership is now all committed to making sure that this doesn't exist in our formations and that we're treating everyone with dignity and respect. And it's about caring for our fellow soldiers and making sure these views and these folks express those views aren't serving in our military, but it's going to be hard. Just do the job. You just got to do the job. You got to get independent people in there. You got to have independent reviews, auditing your records. Once again, I'm going to say it again. You cannot expect the Catholic Church to self-monitor, to self-police. You cannot expect Wall Street to police itself. You cannot expect the military or military schools to police themselves either about extremism. You need outside auditors coming in and taking a look at how they're doing and telling them when they're screwing up and telling the public how they're screwing up too. Let's check out chat. Hey, thank you, Dr. Osiris. I appreciate that. You can buy me a coffee. Buy me several because I need coffee. See, that's more about me talking about coffee than anything else. Blazing. Nice studio, Andy. Did a major network go bankrupt? Indeed. It's the powers of green screen, my friend. It's the powers of green screen. I really wanted to give it that Death Star vibe here. Maybe the BBC vibe. Blazing. Always good to see blazing. Danish Greenland, indeed. Big swap for Puerto Rico and Danish Greenland. Greenland, with all the with all the glaciers melting, that's going to be some prime territory pretty soon. James Henry, that's his name. James Henry, glad to see you. Well, there's no transparency, and that's the problem. But there are ways of fixing it, and I think they're easier to fix here. I think the lift required to fix American democracy is easier than the Chinese system. But that's just me being a bright-eyed optimist. Maybe it is. Maybe I am just being a bright-eyed optimist there. All right. Oh, this is interesting. David Paul says, check out how to hide an empire. We should have open primaries. We should. Open primaries. That is a way to fight against religious extremism and political as well as white supremacy and religious extremism. That it is one of the tools we Democrats on the grassroots level should be supporting. Getting those ballot initiatives on ballots, That's something everyone can do. You only need a certain amount of certified signatures in many states to get a question on a ballot. Open primaries. That is a worthy goal to fight for. All right. So what did we cover? What did we cover over the show? It's hard to believe. We're already 50 minutes in. We covered Facebook issues that secular atheist people are having. Puerto Rico statehood. What's going on with Puerto Rico statehood? By the way, don't believe the hype that we need Republicans to sign on for Puerto Rico statehood. We don't. There's ways to get around the filibuster. The filibuster has already been carved out. There's also little sections of the filibuster that that have been taken out in terms of certain laws that can be passed. So the idea that the filibuster is going to keep out Puerto Rico statehood is no. If the Democrats choose to, they can get it done. 7 GOP senators, we talked about how McSally from Arizona says that if we do get Puerto Rico as a state, there goes Senate control of, Republican Senate control for a long, long time. The 7 GOP senators, we talked about open primaries, and ranked choice voting. That will give politicians much more leeway to make choices. And this gentleman who is now in charge of West Point, he's going to try to fight political extremism in the military, at least at West Point. So that's it. That's it. Oh, wait, before we start wrapping everything, before we put a bow on it, one more joke, one more quick video. Let's do that.
I'm getting older. I went to a rap concert, and this guy thought I was an undercover cop. I'm like, I'm not a cop. Look, I have drugs. Turns out he was a cop.
Yeah, everyone thinks I'm a narc. Everyone. They either think I'm a narc or they think I remind them of their a-hole dad or their a-hole stepdad. So I can commiserate. I can commiserate with that gentleman. All right, 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'm doing Jenga, an open discussion for all intents and purposes, while I take out blocks and put them back up in building towers. We're doing the show again tomorrow, 9 a.m. to approximately 10 a.m. Rage, last time we checked on Rage, or the last time Rage checked in on us, he is stuck in a hospital getting some kind of x-ray. So hopefully he's going to be okay. People think you're a thug. Speak truth, and people aren't going to like you many times unless you put it into a joke. No, Phil Lister, this is interesting. Have to say, I was always impressed by the quality and reasonableness of the U.S. senior officers I met while serving with Swedish Armed Forces. Well, that's good. That's good. Good to hear that. I think if going with what Blazing is saying, Puerto Rico can join Denmark, but I don't think the Inuit of Greenland want to become American. No, the minute that we find oil in Greenland, we would be putting Inuits, we would be taking their land and putting them places that they don't want to be, pipelines, things like that. So yeah, it would be a bad deal for the Inuits, for Greenland to join the States. Hey, thanks for putting down the link to the blog. I gotta do the very nice. I see what you did there, Simply Secular. They are testing the Rage for the midichlorian count. Indeed. Lacrosse, right, Wild Eden? Indeed. That was a pun. Yeah, I've been to concerts too, Glenn Chesterton, where I'm the oldest dude there. I am. Yeah, Spy, definitely. All right. So here I am. We are closing down the show once again tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Jenga at 3 p.m. More like an open discussion where we can just talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. All of you, whatever you want to talk about, we can talk about. And you can watch things crash down hilariously as I try to build them up. Is it a metaphor for life? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. Did I tweak my back yesterday? I tweaked my back a couple of days ago, so I'm still not as mobile as I'd like to be. I'm doing some exercises to try to some PT exercises to get my back working well. That's why I didn't do Jenga on Friday, actually, because I messed my back up. And I was very uncomfortable. All right, so that's it. That's the show. Be strong. See you at 3 p.m. today. If not, hopefully we'll see each other at 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Be good. Be strong. Take care. And epic pose coming up.